Ever found yourself nodding along to a phrase you've heard countless times in movies, TV shows, and even everyday conversations, but never really stopped to think about what it actually means? A phrase that's become so ingrained in our collective consciousness, it almost feels like it's always been there? Well, today, we're diving deep into one of those linguistic chameleons, a seemingly simple two-word response that carries a surprisingly rich history and a fascinating evolution. Roger that. Think about it. You've heard it in tense military dramas, where every word crackles with urgency. You've heard it in action-packed thrillers, confirming crucial instructions in the heat of the moment. You might have even heard it from a pilot calmly acknowledging air traffic control. It's a phrase that conjures up images of crisp communication, of orders received and understood, of a seamless flow of information. But where did this ubiquitous phrase come from? What's the story behind Roger that? And why Roger, of all names? To unravel this linguistic puzzle, we need to rewind the clock, not just decades, but over a century, to the very dawn of radio communication. Imagine a world without instant messaging, without phone calls across continents, where the ability to transmit voices through the air was a groundbreaking, almost magical, invention. This was the era of Morse code, a system of dots and dashes that revolutionized long-distance communication. In these early days of radio, efficiency and clarity were paramount. Every transmission had to be concise and unambiguous, especially in critical situations. To confirm that a message had been received and understood, a simple acknowledgement was necessary. This is where our journey truly begins. The initial form of acknowledgement wasn't Roger that at all. It was simply R. Why R? Because in the phonetic alphabet of the time, R stood for received. Think of it like saying got it or understood, but in a single, efficient letter. This single-letter acknowledgement was quick, clear, and served its purpose well in the relatively slow and sometimes static-filled world of early radio transmissions. However, as radio technology advanced and voice communication became more prevalent, the need for clearer and less ambiguous acknowledgement arose. Imagine trying to distinguish a spoken R over a crackling radio line. It could easily be misheard or lost in the static. This is where the concept of a phonetic alphabet became even more crucial. Phonetic alphabets are designed to ensure that each letter is represented by a distinct word, minimizing the chances of misinterpretation, especially when communication is challenging. Over time, various phonetic alphabets were developed and used by different organizations and countries. And this is where our friend Roger enters the picture. In the early to mid-20th century, several phonetic alphabets were in use, including the Joint Army/Navy Phonetic Alphabet, also known as the Abel-Baker alphabet. This alphabet assigned a specific word to each letter of the English alphabet. And what word was assigned to the letter R? You guessed it, Roger. So, instead of just saying R to signify received, radio operators began using the full word Roger. This made the acknowledgement much clearer and less likely to be misinterpreted, especially in noisy or challenging communication environments. Roger became the standard way to confirm that a message had been heard and understood. But the story doesn't end there. How did Roger evolve into the now familiar Roger that? The addition of that is a subtle but significant linguistic shift. It adds a layer of affirmation, implying not just I received your message. The exact origins of the that are a bit hazy, but it likely emerged organically through common usage. It's a natural linguistic tendency to add small words like that to emphasize understanding or agreement. Think of saying okay versus okay, that makes sense. The addition of that reinforces the comprehension aspect. The phrase Roger that gained significant traction during World War II, where clear and concise communication was absolutely vital. Military personnel across various branches relied heavily on radio communication, and Roger that became a standard acknowledgement, signifying not only receipt but also an understanding of the orders or information conveyed. The widespread use of Roger that in the military during such a pivotal period in history undoubtedly contributed to its permeation into popular culture. After the war, as veterans returned to civilian life and as military themes became prevalent in movies and television, the phrase followed. It became a shorthand for acknowledging instructions, often with a sense of efficiency and professionalism, even outside of military contexts. Think about how often you hear Roger that in movies or TV shows depicting pilots, police officers, or other professionals who rely on clear communication. It's become an almost iconic phrase associated with these roles. But the evolution of Roger that doesn't stop at its adoption into popular culture. Like many linguistic elements, its meaning and usage have subtly shifted over time. While it still primarily signifies acknowledgement and understanding, it can also carry different connotations depending on the context and the speaker's tone. Sometimes, Roger that can sound formal and efficient, echoing its military origins. Other times, it can be used more casually, almost as a slightly more emphatic version of okay or got it. And occasionally, depending on the delivery, it can even carry a hint of sarcasm or playful formality. For example, imagine a teenager being asked to clean their room. A flat, unenthusiastic Roger that might imply compliance without any real intention of immediate action. Conversely, a crisp and enthusiastic Roger that could indicate a more positive and immediate response. The beauty of language lies in its dynamism, its ability to adapt and evolve with the needs and nuances of communication. Roger that, while rooted in a very specific historical context, has successfully navigated these linguistic shifts, remaining a relevant and recognizable phrase in modern English. It's also interesting to note how the phonetic alphabet itself has evolved since the days of Abel Baker. The current internationally recognized phonetic alphabet is the NATO phonetic alphabet, adopted in the 1950s. In this alphabet, the letter R is represented by the word Romeo. So, if the same situation arose today with the NATO alphabet, the acknowledgement might theoretically be Romeo that. However, Roger that has become so deeply ingrained in our language and culture that it's highly unlikely to be replaced. It has transcended its original context and become a linguistic fossil of sorts, a testament to the history of radio communication. So, the next time you hear someone say Roger that, take a moment to appreciate the journey this simple phrase has taken. From a single letter in Morse code to a two-word acknowledgement echoing through military operations and Hollywood blockbusters, it's a fascinating example of how language evolves and how even seemingly small words can carry a significant historical and cultural weight. It reminds us that behind every common phrase, there's often a story waiting to be uncovered, a connection to the past that enriches our understanding of the present. With that said, thanks for watching and until next time.